Hey Jeremy, how the hell do we have so many benefits in one box? It almost seems too good to be true. And every time that I go against my gut feeling of it being too good to be true, it usually is too good to be true. So how the hell do we make all the claims in here? And what claims do we make?
Well, we know that contamination, 3/4 of the time when there's a problem in the fuel system, contamination is the cause of it, and we take care of that problem.
But how did we get to that point? And that's a story that I'm wanting to tell, okay? And I need your help and remind me of all the benefits that we do have. But we started off trying to build, and we did build, a horsepower, consistent horsepower, and fuel mileage, okay? And what was leading on to that problem, and we knew nothing at the time, was air and fuel. We knew nothing. We went in, they're trying to fix it, they're trying to fix lines and everything. So we asked them about the filter when you spin it off on the suction side filter. If you're looking for air, it's present here. Well, we found out the whole story behind it through Cummins and everything. And even though we found it through Cummins, it applies to all diesel engines. Anytime that you're having to reach a pop open pressure, compressing fuel, it's just like having air in your brake lines. So what we started off with was having to have a pump, okay? But we had to have an air separation chamber so we could filter that air out, and then we had to have a path for it to go somewhere, and that's back to the tank. But that led us on to the fuel polishing and being able to clean the fuel as drastic as we are with the extreme water separator, which you can tell them about the extreme water separator.
Well, absolutely. So along the way, once we developed the extreme water separator, of course our particulate filter that you see mounted on this unit, we also found out we were able to clean particulates down to 2 micron absolute, right, and remove over 99% of the water, so that polishing effect, recirculating the fuel, not only taking out air, but also taking out extreme high levels of water and filtering down all the way to 2 micron absolute.
And since no one filter, fuel pass through the filter will ever clean your fuel perfectly, we sit there and we polish the fuel. And that's on the titanium signature series. And then on the industrial series, because we polish the whole tank in and out. On the industrial series, once it gets into the filter base, it returns within itself, so it hits several passes before it goes out. So then that led us, how do we claim extreme cold weather?
Heat options, Brad. Okay,
but
2 different electric heat options.
But before we had the heat options, we had the high torque motor.
Absolutely. Being able to work with the thick, partially gelled fuel, powering through that because of the extreme durability and strength of our American-made electric motors.
Right, and we took that stress off the diesel engine, especially, and what I'm thinking about is a lot of these suction side engines, okay? So now there's, engines with a pump in the tank, okay, which helps with cold weather, but they don't have the torque that we do. But when you have that gelling fuel, as Jeremy said, that we're trying to suck up through that restriction, through that wax filter, you're starving your engine right away. And that's basically what you're doing even in warm weather, because you have more vaporization, you're starving your engine. And so we have the mass flow polishing, okay, with the torque. So we're cleaning the fuel. And then just, go into the heaters.
Absolutely. So early units had coolant heat. We added to that with the high output disc heater. On today's units, we got away from the coolant heat because they just weren't being used as much, because we know that our electric options are banging it out time and time again. Thermostatically controlled, 12-volt units, high output, they're very efficient.
So this is how we kept growing. We have innovation. We got ideas from our dealers, from our customers. So that's how we're getting so much. Then, and I'm trying to do this in a little bit of chronological order, and when we designed this, the B model cat, the C model cat, those barrel and plungers like on a P7100 12-valve Cummins, those things would last, they'll last 750,000 miles on their own. So we didn't talk about fuel injection system life at that time. Then they started coming out with unit injectors with tighter tolerances, but then they came out with the common rail. And that's bumping, 35,000 PSI now?
Absolutely.
So how do we claim injector life? Well, you take that air, that's a lack of lubricity, that's sitting there allowing wear and tear, and the galling and scoring on your injectors. Kind of like, fuel is to an injection system what oil is to a crank and the engine. And
well, I'm just going to add, Brad, so the fuel's job, of course, is to power the engine, but it also cools and lubricates everything.
Right.
We know that the air decreases that lubricity. Particulates in common rail systems, the extreme tight tolerances, high pressure, the particulates will kill all fuel systems, and especially common rail, which pretty much everything today is common rail.
So we're overriding a lot of problems just because of the original design of separating air out of fuel. We were able to build on top of that. And then you get into the pump side. A lot of people understand this for high performance. And here, we're in a booth with 2 high performance trucks because they look cool. But the problem is that we needed a pump for the air separation process, because when we started off, there were no pumps down in the fuel, okay? So we had to have our own pump. So no one can beat the quality, the torque, and the torque really makes a difference when you're in cold weather especially, okay? That's why competition just fails in the cold weather states. But that's why you need the high torque. So, you know, if you have a great engine, if you have a great platform, and you're gonna be keeping that truck for a long time, there's different systems now, because we make systems without the pump on it. So you may wanna look at getting the system with the pump, or you may be in and out of that truck and just want the system that just has a drop-in unit. And you mentioned cooling. Let's go over to Mario's truck.
Absolutely.
Mario has 4 540 gallon per hour systems on here. He does not need that to feed his injection pump, does he?
So your typical C15, C17, C16, the racers never want to tell you the displacement of their engines.
You're right.
They might need 120 PSI in factory trim. But I know that Mario is running somewhere around 300 PSI fuel pressure, which is important in filling those unit injectors as fast as possible, jamming that fuel in there, which we provide, but also it allows a cooling effect, because he returns a huge amount of fuel from the head to help bring some of that heat or draw it out of the engine and help keep it in check.
And to see, if he didn't have this, he wouldn't be cooling as well, but that hot fuel going in and then putting it under a vacuum, you have more vapor. Okay, that's where you lose performance. Your EGTs actually go up also with the more air and vapor that you have in fuel. So that's how we make an EGT claim. When you have the perfect timing of the injector, you know, you can set it electronically or mechanically all you want. Air will delay it. And you don't know how much air is going to be in that injection. So when you get that injection timing perfect every time, you get a longer burn. So it fires when it's down here, the piston, instead of up here related to the injector, and you get a longer burn, you burn more of your fuel. That's where you get more horsepower. And then if you drive wisely, that's where you get more fuel mileage.
You also notice smoother idle, because you can't control the variable of the air. Not only retarding how much it's going to retard timing in one injector or another, but also cylinder contribution. How much fuel versus air is in each of the cylinders.
Right.
Well, we remove that variable to help things be smoother and, of course, correct that retarded injection timing.
Just when you go up in the mountains, from sea level to mountains, you lose atmospheric pressure pushing down on the fuel to bring the fuel up. So you have to increase vacuum. You know what else increases vacuum? A dirty filter. What happens when you have a dirty filter? Performance and mileage goes down. Let's relate these two. They're 2 different situations causing the same effect. Some people think we're just high performance because of the size of pumps. You know, this one definitely is, okay? But it's helping them with the operation of their engine, not just feeding fuel to it, okay? So we can go from something like this with the air separation over to our drop-in units, which accomplish the same thing except for fuel delivery above stock situations. And then you still have the extreme water separator in here and all that, and no one can touch us there. Why is that, Jeremy?
So I want to talk a little bit about the drop-in series, because I absolutely love them. There is a specific customer for the drop-in, utilizing the factory intake lift pump on the Ford, Dodge, and Chevy applications that we cover. But we also go into the heavy duty or the semi market. We launched at MATS last year in March. We launched the CAT version of our drop-in system. It utilizes the factory gear pump above the secondary filter on that CAT engine, and we will soon have the same thing available for the Series 60 guys for Detroit. So I love those because they're cost effective. They remove air and vapor.
Easy to install.
Absolutely, yes. Typically 20 minutes or less. Probably takes longer to figure out where to put the serial number when you mount it.
The drop-ins on the pickup trucks are usually around an hour. But on the semis where you have the drop-in series coming in, here's the benefits that you lose when you have a drop-in series only. Now, a drop-in series combined with a full FASS is great, but here's what you lose. Cold weather starting capability, okay? And then the other thing is when you're feeding virtually pure fuel up to that engine gear pump, you're lubricating it so it lasts longer. So that's the two things, and then the polishing and the heating when you need it. So that's what you lose when you just, if you say, you know what, I'm gonna go with this item because it's easy to put on and everything. Well, you know what, put that item on, let it say make you some money for a return on investment, and then put the full FASS system on your Class 8 truck or Class 8 truck type of operation. Put that on, and then you get the whole gamut. But this is how we've evolved. But show you how we've been evolving. Tell them about a gauge package.
FASS Connect. Very excited to see this come out. So we are launching this soon. So this is an early look at it.
A soft release, as you call it.
Exactly. Yep.
I wanted to release it.
I know. So hopefully early in 2025. Of course, we're on track for. We won't quote an exact time. So what we're doing is we are allowing multiple inputs, pyrometer, pressure, vacuum. So a lot of options there on an actually wireless as far as connectivity between the ECU and the gauge itself, as well as an integrated app that
on your phone.
People will be able to use on their phone. You won't have to actually mount the gauge itself. The ECU can send that data straight to the app on the phone, which will be, of course, Android and iOS.
What's great about the app is that actually if you live in the cold weather climates and you have heaters, you can turn that heater on from your house. You'll be able to turn it on from your house. Let it heat up, let it get that, break down that wax, it's, from the cold weather. And we're getting more waxing at higher temperatures now because of the corn.
Oh, ethanol, absolutely.
Yeah, so we see that coming. The other thing is that you can order or find a dealer, you can order your filters off your app or find a dealer off your app. So there's all kinds of things. But this is how we kept evolving. Remember, we designed the fuel system to take care of inconsistent performance, get the power that it was getting when it was running good, but all the time, and smoother idle, and get our fuel mileage. So we accomplished that, but then we've evolved and been able to take that process of taking the air out and the vapor and do better about all the benefits that we just spoke about.
So the FASS Connect is going to be awesome because for years we've told customers to use a gauge to understand how long their filters will last. That's one of the main questions that we get even in customer service. Well, how often do I change my filters? Utilizing a gauge is the best window into your filters so that you know roughly how long they will last, because as they accumulate water and particulates, the pressure will start to drop. With the FASS Connect, you'll be able to monitor that in real time, set parameters. It will give you alerts on your phone. It will also be tied into our website to allow for opportunities for filters and things. Some of that stuff is TBD, but it is going to be so exciting.
The gauges just eliminate the guesswork, and it gives you a proactive resolution to when you change the filters. Because the thing is, you could run great fuel, you could run those filters for 80,000 miles.
And we've gone 40, 50 plus thousand in pickups.
Yeah.
With good quality
I've
fuel.
done it on semis, okay? But you could also go 5,000 miles because you ran into where, someone's trying to cheapen their fuel and dumping water into fuel, and we've had that. So you could go 10,000 miles. So this eliminates that guesswork. And then having the FASS on there guarantees that you're gonna get high quality fuel in your injection system no matter where you fill up. You're really passionate about this, so am I. And we used to have just normal filters, okay? And in those normal filters, people would ask me, do I need to buy your filters? I said, no, you don't. You can go out and get the same quality filter. Here's the cross-reference sheet. Now, if you want to help me with my bank account, because Biden's been taking so much, I would appreciate it. But now, no one can touch us with our extreme water separated filter. Let's share that information.
When we developed the extreme water separation, we're using technology, extreme 99.9% and more water separation as compared to like this cat filter. Cellulose technology, it's drainable. The inherent problems with the cellulose style of filters because when they get too much water in them, they bypass it. It will allow the water to flow into your injection system, much like the factory water separators as well. The extreme water separator actually locks and traps that water within the element itself, which will physically swell and put you to a point where you'll be on the side of the road. If
you get bad enough fuel.
Absolutely, extreme cases, right?
Right. But here's the thing, we say that then say, oh, I don't want that filter. Well, you know what? You know what's gonna happen? You may go a mile down the road. When it shuts it down like that, that's a large amount of water. It may go a mile down the road or 5 miles down the road, but guess what it's gonna do? It's gonna put you on the side of the shoulder, you're not going to have to just change the fuel filters and possibly the fuel in the tank. You're going to have to go and replace parts of the injection system, if not the whole injection system. And then if you get enough water, it can have actually a runaway and damage the engine. So that's why that filter is so important. And especially now with the corn that's going in our fuels, with the biofuels, you're getting more condensation. So that even comes into more play. Then you go with our southern countries, Guatemala, and you know about those countries, those border, you know, those beachside states.
Absolutely, down in the Amazon basin where they have probably 5 times as much water in their fuel as we do here, they struggle daily with issues from that water and other contaminants wrecking their injection systems.
But visit our website, fastride.com. Go look at the videos that we have for cold weather, for injection system, for fuel mileage, for horsepower, for all of what we discussed, to go in depth into what we discussed. But that's how we've gotten so many benefits to you in one box.